Good morning. Welcome to 4x8 Paper Stuff. We are in day 3 of our Sea Pieces journal, which are tales told in a journal. What did I say it was called? Stories from the Sea told in a journal. Can't even remember my own instructions to myself. So today we're doing ocean or oceans. And I just kind of went through and wrote down a few facts, how I just bullet points. This is kind of how I do stuff in my Hobonichi, bullet points on life. But that Copic marker went through. So I ripped off, now this is thin paper, so I should have known that. But I ripped off the word reptile from the day before, and I'm going to put washi tape down when I can find a washi tape that isn't dried out. Use your washi tape up. Sometimes some of the brands dry out, especially if you stored them once or twice by the window. Yeah. So anyhow, I just happen to have some water tape. So I put that over the bleed through, and I'm going to glue the word reptile back down. And I had a scrap there, so I just stuck it somewhere else. I'm doing a voiceover. Number one, the last few videos have been so long, and I want y'all to enjoy life, not listen to me ramble on about silly stuff and ramble. However, 14 minutes is a compromise, right? Right. So this is the field notes section of my Sea Pieces journal. And I did this because learning by journaling is kind of the theme of this journal in a way. Learning all kinds of things. And I love learning by journaling. And but when I do an art journal, a lot of times I just write a word like water or, 5 oceans or whatever. So this time I decided, how can I incorporate all my thought processes and things that I learned in the same journal? So I'm doing field notes in the back, art in the front. And when I say art, it's mixed media in some form or fashion. And however, whatever happened to me that day or the day before, thought processes, horrible stuff in the news, brings out a darker tone or a jagged edge or whatever. I don't want it to be front and center in anything. However, it is kind of front and center in my thought process today. This morning, we had a really, really weird thing happen to us yesterday, and it has unnerved us both. My husband didn't think about it at the time because he's of a different generation, and I thought, why and how did that happen? And why did he feel it was necessary to come to our house? It was, I think, innocent on my husband's part, and perhaps foolish on the other person's part, but it's all been very unnerving. And our neighborhood, our little part of Columbia, is no longer quiet like it used to be. It's no longer kind of out on our own on a lake. It's just because the world has changed. Everything's changed. You think about things, and I hate thinking about the worst in people, but when they show up at your front door, it's a little unnerving. That's going to be tsunami when I look it up and spell it correctly. Anyhow, so between what's happened in the news and I'm not watching it, I'm just seeing highlights on social media when I'm looking up art videos. It's really, really creepy and sad. We're starting 2025 off, which we know is not going to be good already. And I think I'm just in a dark mood today. So I want to just paint, and I'm going to do a voiceover because I don't want to say any more and give the person that showed up at our door any more attention. But I didn't sleep. My stomach is a mess. It's just it was just really weird, and I'm not going to say any more about it. It has nothing to do with social media. Um, it's just it was very unnerving. Um, and my husband didn't even think about it. And sometimes, you know how when you tell your husband or your spouse or your significant other, I don't like what happened just then, and they kind of get a glazed over look, like, oh Lord, she's talking again. Just be quiet. Let's just shake our head at the appropriate times, and maybe she'll be quiet. That's how our conversation, my husband's and mine conversation, started out. After it all kind of sank in what happened, I'm like, hold on a second. That was not good what just happened. And my husband reacted to it differently than I did, and his glazed over look stopped eventually. And when he saw how like unnerved I was, he's like, "Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right." I don't think those were just placating, "Yeah, you're right" stuff. It was just weird. Okay, no more about it. No more about it. But anyhow, I just am unnerved, and this was good therapy for me to just sit here with the paintbrush and go wild and not make waves anymore. Capiche? Get it? Waves, ocean. Okay. Um, I do a variety of wave swoops on a jelly plate on a piece of plastic, using it kind of like another form of a jelly plate, transferring color to paper. Um, in the end, I think my jacket influenced a lot. um, and then the end product, which I may not even show you till tomorrow, uh, not an end product, a side thing that happened was just like, oh my Lord, where is this happening? And where is this going to go? And how is this going to show up? So one thing leads to another. It's just weird. The universe is weird sometimes. And art, if you read the tea leaves in art, are there tea leaves in art? Sometimes it just is like, wow. That's why I like to work intuitively, because I'm not a good tea leaf reader. And so when things happen on accident, it's the tea leaves in the art product saying, yo, lady, look here. And I'm like, whoa. And the whole time I was doing this, I was like, wow, I kind of like that. Wow, what happens if you change the direction of the jelly plate? Are there vertical waves? Of course there are. They're called surfing moments. And are there green waters? Of course there are. The Gulf of Mexico is green. Sometimes the Atlantic looks green. Here I'm just trying to get rid of some paint off on a piece of paper and see where that takes me in another journal. But I did want to say there have been several days where I've been in the Atlantic and the Pacific all in one day. I know. And that wasn't when I weighed 30 pounds more and I could stretch across the United States. No, it was like flying from California to South Carolina, or going through the Panama Canal, where you did end up on one side and then back on the other. Here's a piece of deli paper. I'm kind of transferring the same wave motion. Um, I think that deli paper will end up in this page, but everything is sopping wet, and it might end up there tonight when everything is dry. But there's been several times where I've ended up, you know, I left the beach for one point or another and flew home, and that day we went to Bodega Bay, home, California. Um, and I'm like, I went to the Pacific and the Atlantic all in the same day. Uh, it was wild. I think the day we put my grandmother's ashes in the Pacific, which was done down by Monterey and Big Sur area. I think like the day before I had been at the Atlantic. I mean, that's just that, thinking about those kind of things, painting water, being in water, seeing different oceans all in the same day. It's all kind of like the tea leaves of art. And it's giving me all these weird feelings on top of the unnerving thing that happened. I think I just want to go bury my head in some water. I think I just could just float on a raft somewhere and lay out in the sun. Unfortunately, we are scheduled for perhaps tiny snowflakes today. I know, I know. I looked on the weather app and it said even like next Saturday we have even more of a chance, which is just the word of the day is unnerving. I don't want to put my paintbrush on the paper. I want to put it on other things and transfer the motion of the ocean that way. I'm trying to restrain myself from putting the paintbrush on the paper until I'm ready, until the next step two. All in all, I'm thinking about, I want mixed media in all of this. And that's where the deli paper will come in, I think. But everything is sopping wet, and I left my heat gun at the beach. So, um, I am making an abstract ocean all the way and enjoying every single stroke and every single moment. I just thought of something else. Paint strokes and swimming strokes. That's wild. See? 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 You could go anywhere with some of this. I'm trying to make a really, really light surf bubbles blue, because now I am going to remove some of the water, some of the ocean off my page. Blocking in, I've been doing this a couple times now, and I love this. Blocking in my favorite parts, and sometimes adding stuff over the color that blocked everything in. But today I'm not going to do that. I have been knocked over by a large wave, and I'm looking up, and this is what I'm seeing: bubbles and color, and thinking, how am I going to get out of here? Um, and all in all, still making it a dinosaur volume. We're going to get back to the dinosaur, but we have to establish a few ground points, like the ocean, because that's where he came from. That's where he was. That's where he lived, was in the ocean. And at that point in time, because tomorrow is land movement, all the continents were kind of squished together. According to the experts on Wikipedia, my main source of information, my sister was sending out a text to all of us saying something about one of the Osmond guys died, which is really sad. If you're not in the United States, you may not know who the Osmonds are. You might. Donny Osmond. Anyhow, that's how old I am. Yes, purple socks. Yes, I had them. Yes, I loved Donny Osmond for that. I had Donny Osmond and Michael Jackson, I know, on my wall. But anyhow, and I was telling her, he had been sick and he had a stroke and he had brain cancer and blah. And my sister said, well, I didn't need to know all that. I'm like, well, Bethopedia, hello. So now I'm putting in texture in my foam on top of the water, but I don't want it to look like obvious splotches of a paintbrush. So I tried to kind of minimize the splotch look with the plastic, but it wasn't working. So when in doubt, get your fingers in it. And I kind of just do what I do on Procreate and squished stuff around, and loved how this turned out. In fact, that might be the final step for me, and I added a little bit more water where I thought it wasn't blending enough. But I'm leaving colors of the ocean because I am laying on the sand and looking up, and I'm seeing foam and surf and all of this, but there's also bright colors thrown in of the ocean. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This is me painting with a little bit of a nerve issue today, thanks to something that happened yesterday, but having the time of my life and enjoying it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye.